Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Dearest, Mother and Dad. Love, Ruth, John, Mark, Pamela, and Patricia. Ruth Smallshaw Ray's Letters to Her Parents, 1960, Part 122. 602 Huntmere Drive, Bay Village, Ohio, April 18th, 1960. Dear Mother, I'm certainly sorry to hear that Bud's family have the flu and hope they recover quickly. Bud's last letter from Saskatoon said what good health they've had all winter. I can certainly sympathize with them. Our house looked like a morgue when we all had it. John in the bed, me on the sofa, then whoever was the worst got our bed. So glad that you liked the Easter lily. It was John's decision, and he said he wished he'd sent you one other years, so he's the one to thank. You must have misunderstood my letter about John's doctor report. John's heart report has been the same each year we've been married, so we're pleased. The insurance rates are too high to get the kind you mentioned to pay up the balance. One of John's secretaries was in a bad car accident a week ago and has been in a coma since. John went to see her and says the lump on her head was the size of his 2 fists. John went to Good Friday noon service and I went Friday night. We all got up at 7 o'clock a.m. yesterday and went to early communion. They had a special service for the children, and Mark said, "Patty was good as gold." The children were in the south wing, and even then the church was so full we had to sit on chairs in the aisles. Both John and I prefer the new minister. Then we went to Sandusky, Ohio for a fine Easter dinner, Easter egg hunt, and supper. Carol, Dave, and their children, Dick and Joan and their baby, 15 of us this year. We brought home 24 colored eggs the children gathered. We've all been eating them today. The children were thrilled with the eggs you sent. We took them in the baskets to Sandusky. Yes, Pam and I dyed some eggs, and she took them to school for the Easter egg tree, and Mark colored eggs at school and also Sunday school. I went to the Cleveland Clinic again last week, and I'm feeling much better. I took all the children with me. The nurses were so nice and said it was a pleasure to see me coming with the children. One said I was the kind who should have more children because they're so well behaved. They also thought the girls looked cute in their pink dresses and coats. Even the doctors commented on how pretty Patty is, said she looked like me. They were so good. Then I took them to the co-op. Frances, my roommate, a colored girl, is back working on her doctorate. I took her and the children to lunch, and they were again so good. She said she was so impressed. Then she had an Easter candy hunt for them. I took them down by the Cleveland Museum of Art pool. Pamela said, "It's against the law to go swimming here, but if you fall in, they can't do anything to you, can they?" It was their Easter vacation last week. It was up in the 80s. The forsythia is in full bloom, and the daffodils that I planted last fall are out now too. This week, Thursday, is our monthly meeting of the auxiliary, and Friday we're having a tea for the old folks at the Golden Age Center. We bought shoes for the 6 children of our needy family last week. The girls took them to be fitted. We also bought them a 9x12 linoleum for the kitchen and an Easter basket of food and ham. We made baskets for the children also, 40 for the children at the tubercular hospital, Sunny Acres, and the fresh air camp. They also got a truckload of used furniture and a crib for the family. We're also having the last party for the TB patients, about 100 of them with prizes. No, I don't think Mark's a genius, but I do think he's got a high IQ, like his daddy. Dave has only worked 9 days since before Christmas. John asked what they were living on. They said, living on love. John said, "That's an awful lot of loving." John says it's curfew, so good night. I'm not too uncomfortable, not too big. Love, Ruth. 602 Huntmere Drive, Bay Village, Ohio, April 29th, 1960. Dear folks, I do so hope that Bud and Doris and their family are over the flu and that you have not contacted it. I also hope that you will go and have a flu shot if you haven't. The doctor told me he was so sorry that he hadn't given me a shot. They were not prepared for the epidemic, hadn't even expected it, or he would have given me one. Then, of course, I should have had one anyway to prevent the recurrence of it. It is so hard on one, especially the after effects, that it's only now that I'm getting over the weakness and still tire easily, although I don't do as much as usual. I also hope that if you get the flu that you'll immediately go to bed and stay in bed and get a doctor if you go into a cough. I made the mistake of trying to keep going. I almost wrote you at 3:30 a.m. the other night to tell you to get the flu shot since you said there was nothing that could be done about it. Also, the antibiotics are effective for the bronchitis and pneumonia. We had it up into the 80s for 3 days, so went down for 3 picnics at Huntington Park, such glorious sunsets over the lake. It made me glad I'd lived through the winter. John almost went swimming in the lake when the disc or frisbee went in, but fortunately a boat came along. The children are so enjoying the spring weather and their bicycles and skipping the ball. Pamela is always having so many little girls wanting to play with her. Today a little schoolmate on the next street phoned for her, and adventurous Pam rode her bicycle to Wolf Road and then to the next street and found the house number. I phoned to see if she arrived okay. She phoned me before she came home so I could watch for her. Quite the extrovert like her daddy. They do have such a good time. Mark is busy trading baseball cards with the boys. Patty decided to take her naps on Pamela's bed upstairs, but today came back down to the crib. I'm afraid Patty's going to be a queen without a throne when the baby comes. She's so used to being kingpin. Mark is so solicitous. John had a meeting tonight, and when I was having a contraction, Mark said, "Mother, I do wish you'd lie down. We can get anything we need ourselves." Then, when I continued supper, he said, "I'm certainly glad your chair has a backrest so you can rest." At first, when I told him about the baby, he was quite unconcerned and said it was a little late, don't you think, to be getting a brother for him. But now he's quite hoping it'll be a boy, for tonight he said he feels he's surrounded by women. Pamela is so generous. Today she has been getting some of her toys together for the poor children. She'll only take new-looking things for children in other worlds. She's been having difficulty with her numbers at school, so we've had a few practice sessions. The Haas are moving next week, so we'll own 2 houses and have 2 to keep up now. We still haven't sold this house. Still 11 houses for sale on Huntmere. There were 1,400 men laid off in the Lorraine tube plant, and most of the hearths have been shut down in the steel plant. I do hope the recession lets up. John's stocks, his investments, are doing fine, though. Dave and Carol and their girls were over Sunday, and Dave is back to work. Oh, the pretty yellow blanket came today, and the peak friens. We had some for supper. It will be nice to have something new for the baby. I thought I had plenty of things, but when I went over them, they looked so dowdy after 3 babies that I phoned and ordered some new shirts and sheets. I still need some receiving blankets since Patty is so attached to the ones you gave her, but I can get those easily. I still would like the things back from Doris, too, when she's up to it. I shouldn't have sent them, I guess, but thought they might as well be in use. But now we'll put anything away for the next 2 children. John says he has visions of wanting an even bigger home than this one we just bought. We'd also like to be right on Lake Erie, but first we must sell 602 Huntmere Drive. John was on the steering committee this month. 5 who planned the Sunday school teachers' meetings. He really told them off, I guess. He feels the meetings are too long and in his time too valuable to sit for hours listening to long-winded discussions, and no meeting should last longer than 2 hours. He said he wanted to hear expert opinions from the minister, not half-baked ideas from the other teachers. Also, he thought we should get concrete material to present to the classes, what rogation days are, and Epiphany, Trinity, and Ascension. He says they assume everyone knows, but he also wants to know what scriptures pertain to them, and the handwork to give the children. I think he's perfectly right, for I have to spend so much time digging up material and have had to use the things you sent. John said he may have made an enemy of the director, but the new minister seemed to agree with John. They have been using the Seabury series here, which is so much theory, but so hard for an inexperienced teacher. We don't have lesson plans or books with lessons as you do. So we'll see how the next teachers' meeting is. This new minister seems more factual than Reverend Brown. Next weekend, I plan to move the winter clothes, playpen, and non-essential items to Beechcliff Boulevard. Thanks again for the lovely yellow blanket, and I do hope that you are all okay. We'll use the blanket for the baby to come home from the hospital. Love, Ruth. P.S. What did Flo die from? Can you find out for me if they sell sterling silver maple leaf earrings, and if so, how much? Also, if I could get a dozen pair at a reduction. I have to buy gifts for 10 girls on my board. Let me know if the jewelers have any. Love, Ruth. 602 Huntmere Drive, Bay Village, Ohio, May 8th, 1960. Dear Mother, Happy Mother's Day. And here I am in the Cleveland Clinic. I knew that I'd been looking forward to my hospital stay, but didn't think I'd planned a premature trip, which this has turned out to be. So I've spent Mother's Day in bed, and embarrassed as I am, I think I've needed it anyway. This pregnancy has been very confusing lately, for I've been having false labor or contractions for about 6 weeks, particularly when I'm tired. Thursday night I was timing until about 3:30 a.m. and finally fell asleep, but yesterday I had the contractions 15 minutes apart all afternoon, and by evening was so exhausted and went to bed at 8 o'clock p.m. and at 9 o'clock had show. Bleeding and the contractions went from 6 minutes to 4 minutes apart, and we rushed over to the hospital. John's brother Dick watched the children all night. Even Dr. Taylor was fooled. I've dilated about 3 centimeters and had a caudal put in my back, a plastic catheter for a spinal-like tube and injection device. I didn't think the Novocaine was enough last time and don't want spinal headaches. However, my labor petered out after being 2 minutes apart for half an hour. Both Dr. Taylor and John were so nice about it. Everyone has been, and they all felt I ought to spend Mother's Day in bed here anyway, so I've had 3 good meals and a rest. An expensive vacation. I was so cross with the children yesterday, about 7 o'clock, that I went up to apologize. Pamela said, "That's all right, Mother. Don't cry. You were nice when Timmy came." She's had a little boyfriend calling on her and taking her bicycle riding. She introduced us and also Patty. Then I heard her explaining, "The reason my mommy's so fat is she's going to have a baby." He said, "Mine's fat too, but she's not going to have one." Mark's collection is tadpoles and mosquito larvae from pools. He even fell in the puddle last Sunday. Princess Margaret's wedding made me cry. It reminded me of ours, when the minister bound their hands with his stole. I certainly have been so lucky to have wonderful John. Last night there was a girl yelling in labor. John said, "There comes an only child." She had a baby girl. I felt like I wished I could take some of her contractions and use them on my own. Dr. Taylor said she was of foreign extraction and that fear and superstition made it hard for her. He'd given her 500 cc's of Demerol, which is 5 times the usual amount for one person, but she still yelled so much. I thought she'd had the baby in her room and thought I could hear the baby crying. The Haas have moved and we own 2 houses, so John has been moving things over, winter clothes and things we won't need. He was having an open house this afternoon, but it's been raining all day, so doubt if he had much luck. Rita next door gave us a lovely bouquet of their tulips, red, purple, yellow, and some lilacs, certainly cheerful looking, and the lilac's perfume is so sweet. Our yellow tulips are out. The doctors and nurses have been trying not to make me feel bad. Dr. Zeit said his wife came in for their 3rd baby, stayed a day, and then went home and didn't have the baby for another 10 days. And a nurse just told me of one who was having her 6th child and came in 6 times before she had it. She said she was in tears. I certainly hope I don't make this mistake again. The baby is hard as a rock and really jumping around. It really is a miracle, the whole baby and birth process. It also consummates a mother's entire thoughts at the time. We're still real happy about our new house. The people left it very clean, but John vacuumed and dusted yesterday. The pink dogwood and purple azalea are in bloom around it. It's so lovely. The Burke's in Toronto has the earrings for $2.50. Thanks though. Love, Ruth. P.S. I had Joe Portero style my hair again. To be continued. Now, Ruth included in her letter to her mother an ad for the sale of their home. It says, their home in Bay Village. Open 2 to 6 by owner. Bay Village, 602 Huntmere Drive, 3-bedroom brick bungalow. Finished 2nd full basement, wall-to-wall carpeting in living room and upstairs. Drapes, storms, screens. Beautifully wooded lot, 176 feet deep. Garage, $17,900, TR 16606. Now, there were 3 letters to the 3 comments based on the original publication. And the first, it was from my sister Patricia, Ruth and John's 2nd daughter, 3rd child. Hi, Peter. I received SFMC number 50 yesterday and read it immediately. What a cute picture of you on the front. This was a precious issue to read. I'm glad to read that I was not always so shy as a little girl, and that I was queen for a while. Dad is amazing in everything he does, and Mom just kept having babies. I enjoyed this so much. Thank you, Peter. Patricia A. Ray, M.D., Brookline, Massachusetts. And the next comment is from John S. Ray, Ruth's husband and my fine father. Dear editor, what fun to read SFMC number 50 and have my memory refreshed about such an exciting time in our lives. Peter on the way. A new house purchased. Wow. Mark said chess was a rather complicated game when he was only 7. When Patty sat on her mother's lap when she was pregnant, she said, "Baby, yikes, big." Mark's response, I don't think she's too bright. She doesn't talk very clearly for her age. Pam, while standing by the art museum pool, it's against the law to go swimming here, but if you fall in, they can't do anything to you, can they? Mark was quite concerned about his mother when she was pregnant with Peter. Mother, you should lie down. We can get anything we need ourselves. He also said, I'm certainly glad your chair has a backrest so you can rest. Pam said, my mom is fat because she's going to have a baby. Her friend Timmy said, mine's fat too, but she is not going to have one. What a precocious young family. Keep up the good work. Love, Dad. John S. Ray, Rocky River, Ohio. And the final letter comment is from Ruth S. Ray, the author herself. Dear editor, Friday morning I did my exercises, meditated, and at 7:30 a.m. I sat out here in our conservatory and read the SFMC with Peter's photo on the cover, number 50, leading up to his birth. It was so hilarious, at least the parts of the sayings of Mark, Pamela, and Patricia, that I burst out laughing. Then later, when we told Mark how funny it was and John read excerpts from it, we both enjoyed it. I remember it all vividly, as if it were yesterday, although I doubt if John was aware at the time. I was so sick, and Patty put her slippers on the pillow as if to tell me to get up. Mark was so solicitous and said they could take care of themselves. Pamela telling her friend Timmy that I was fat because I was having a baby, and he said his mother was fat but not having a baby. How ironic that we had Pamela tested for diabetes. My cousin Flo died at that time from diabetes. Pamela was so generous and let Patty have the doll Mother sent. However, when she thought of the gifts we'd brought her when Patty came home from the hospital, she decided she'd like an umbrella for the new baby to bring home from the hospital. Thinking ahead, I should find the newspaper photo they took of our family when John was Young Man of the Year. We all went to bed after it was taken. Patricia phoned last night and was amazed that we hadn't told John's folks about expecting, that Pamela had told them. However, they were so upset about Michael's birth and with the Cleveland Clinic that we didn't want to worry them. I had trouble then throwing out stuff and more now. Mark asked about having the stork bring the baby the old-fashioned way. Love, Mother. Ruth S. Ray, Rocky River, Ohio. To be continued. Well, that concludes today's presentation. You might consider, checking out our website, Adventures in History with Peter J. Ray at peterjray.com. So far, we've made 689 history videos in 7 areas: world history, American history, book reviews, poetic tours, Cleveland baseball, family history, and autobiography. There's a donate feature. You might consider making a donation so we can continue making these videos. If you live in Metro Manila, Philippines, and are looking for a high school, you might consider Restless Educational Center. Restless is located on Allenby Street, also known as the Inclined Plane, not far from the corner of P. Guevara and Wilson Street in Barangay Maytunas, San Juan, Metro Manila, Philippines. At Restless, we specialize in helping young people who have had difficulty in the larger traditional high schools. We're more than a school, we are a warm, supportive community, and we strive to be creative and innovative. The website is restless.education. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care. And I'll see you next time.